Today I'm going to show you what's inside of a Jeep four-wheel drive system and how it works. Now here I've got the transmission and transfer case out of a 2018 Jeep JL Wrangler, so we're going to take the transfer case apart to see how it works. Taking a look at the setup here, at the front of the transmission we've got the input shaft, which is going to bring power in from that 3.6 pedestal engine that I took apart earlier. That power is then going to be flowed through the transmission, which has 6 gears, which is then going to choose the correct gear ratio according to the speed you're looking for. The power is then going to be sent through the transfer case portion over here, which is going to control your 4 low, 4 high, and all-wheel drive, and then it's going to be sent down to this tail shaft over here, which is going to connect to the rear wheel. You've also got this contraption over here with another manual valve that's to control the four-wheel drive, and this is the flange that's going to connect to the prop shaft that'll go out to the front wheels to drive the front axle. Now over here on the rear tail shaft we've got this little drain port for this fluid. I'm also going to start separating the transfer case from the transmission. Comment down below if you think the cold weather is affecting the battery on these. My ratchet is trapped in there. There we go. Don't you miss the old school days of just hand tools? Okay. So taking a quick look around here, you can see this is the input shaft from the transmission. You can see it's splined to the transmission over there, and it's got its own seal. We have on the back side here an electric motor, which is what's going to control the four-wheel drive / all-wheel drive setup, and then this here is your manual gear select. Now taking a look at how this transfer case works here, this is a primary rear-wheel drive vehicle, so therefore any power that comes from the input shaft always goes to spin the rear wheels back here, and what the transfer case is doing is selecting how much of that torque can transfer over here to spin the front wheels, and how much torque can be multiplied by. Taking a look at this gear selector here, there's 4 main modes. The first 2 are actually very similar. You can see as I rotate the input shaft, both output shafts are rotating. That would be for four-wheel drive. However, because there's a clutch system inside of there, I can actually hold this one steady and still rotate the rear wheels. Now if I move this over to the second position over here, it's very similar. I can still rotate all 4 wheels or hold this one almost stationary and the other one rotates. There is a little clutch system inside here that's slipping, but it is given some resistance over here because it wants to rotate the front pop shaft. Now having a setup here with a clutch system that allows a little bit of slippage between the front and the rear wheels is beneficial because you can actually use this on dry pavement. On dry pavement, especially when you go on turns, the front wheels and the rear wheels don't move at the same speed, so therefore you're not going to have binding. Now the next mode over here in the middle is neutral. You can see I can rotate the input shaft freely and none of the outputs rotate. Now having a neutral built in here is good if you want to do flat towing because the wheels can move without moving the transmission or transfer case, causing any overheating or driveline problem, and you won't have to disconnect your prop shaft when towing. And the final mode back here, we're going to have a torque multiplication. Now if you watch my hand here, you can see I have to rotate the input shaft much faster in order to get the rear wheels to rotate at the same speed as before, and the reason for that is because there's a gear reduction in here, which is going to multiply torque that's going to the rear wheels. So this would represent your low gear range where you would multiply torque, so that'll help you over rock crawling. Also in this mode, the prop shafts can rotate at different speeds. Alright, let's open this up to see what's inside. Now I'm going to start removing these transfer case housing bolts. Alright, now that I got all the bolts out of there, I'm going to lift off this half of the transfer case. Now this transfer case has 2 halves here. This one here controls the low gear range and that one controls the four-wheel drive system. So we'll start with the low gear range here because this is purely mechanical. Now looking inside this transfer case here, you can see you have a planetary gear set. We've got a ring gear which is stuck on the outside of the casing. We have a planet carrier over here on the inside, and then a sun gear here which is controlled by this fork which is going to move in and out. Now this sun gear here is what's splined to the output shaft that goes to the rear wheels and the all-wheel drive system, so that goes towards the wheels. And then the input side over here is at the bottom, which we saw earlier, that comes from the transmission. Now the selector fork here is going to follow a specific cam profile with these detents on it, and this plate here is controlled by the selector that we saw earlier on the outside of the body. Alright, so if we take a look at how this transfer case works here, you can see you've got the collar that's going to move this thing up and down. In my case right now, I'm in high mode, so these first 2 here detents don't really do anything to the collar. So if I take a look at the input shaft, which is actually that piece down inside of there, it is rotating at a 1-to-1 gear ratio with the output shaft over here, and that will give you your high mode, which means that all of the transmission's gear ratios are directly going to go to the wheel without any reduction. The next state over here is the neutral state, which actually pops this guy up and away from the planetary gear set. So that way you can actually have this free and you're free to rotate the input shaft. This is good for towing. Now the last state over here is the low gear mode. I'm going to need a little help here to engage that. There you go. You can see the collar is completely moved away over here. And looking down inside of here, you can see this collar is completely engaged with this planet carrier over here. Now because the input shaft here is now tied to the planet carrier, you can see I have to rotate the input shaft at a much faster rate in order to rotate the output shaft, and that's what's going to give you your gear reduction or torque multiplication. I'm going to try to take this thing apart here. We'll pop this guy off, pull this collar off, and you can see that this collar here has these teeth, which are going to be selecting from the teeth either on the planet carrier or on the teeth on the inside on the input shaft. If you select the planet carrier, it's going to give you that gear reduction, or if you select the teeth on the input shaft, that's a 1-to-1 gear ratio for your four-wheel drive high. I'm going to try and remove this snap ring here. Now in order to get this planetary gear set out, Chrysler's actually put in a snap ring way down inside of there that I can't get to with either of my snap ring pliers, so I guess we're not getting that out. And here's a closer look at how those gear ratios work. So that inner gear here is actually the input shaft, and this outer gear is your planet carrier. So when you're locked to the input one, that gives you your 1-to-1 ratio, and then the planet carrier is going to give you a lower gear ratio. You can see when I spin the input shaft just how much slower the planet carrier rotates. These are roughly a 1 to 2.7 ratio. And here's a look at how the detent system works. It's really stiff, but basically you got two springs, one on this side and the sensor over on this side, and that collar is going to ride up on this cam profile here in order to engage and disengage it from this gear. Now taking a look at this half where the all-wheel drive, four-wheel drive selection happens, you can see we have the input shaft side over here, which is what takes this high-low selection from the part we saw earlier. That torque is then going to directly be transferred down to the bottom here at the output shaft, so you always have those rear wheels rotating. Now over here we've got a chain drive that goes to a counter shaft over here, and this is eventually going to drive the prop shaft depending on the clutch setup that's inside of here. Now you can see we've used a chain drive over here, which is a lot lighter and quieter than using a gear setup, and we've got these little plastic baffles over here to help oil flow around to the critical bearing materials. Over here is sort of the little pickup tube here, and then I found this magnet chilling at the bottom here with some deposits on it. Now this whole thing should lift out. This is the front prop shaft drive. The rear drive part over here, that'll just pop out of the casing. You can see there's a direct drive directly to the rear wheels. There's no clutch or anything in the way. This here is just transferring torque to the front wheel. Here's what that chain looks like. You can see it's a nice sturdy and thick chain, of course, because it has to transfer at least 50% of the torque to the front wheels. And this chain, of course, is always encased and cooled by the oil. Looking down inside of here, you can see a little tube here that's going to feed the oil pump. This is the little oil pump. It's got flats on the inside here. It's going to be driven by the flats over here on the output shaft. Now it's critical to have the correct oil and oil level inside of here. Here you can see the fill port and the drain port, so your fluid level will be somewhere around halfway here. It's critical that you have that, otherwise these parts are not going to be well lubricated. Looks like the guys were running royal purple in here or something. It looks pretty cool. Here you can also see the spiral gear that's going to be turned by the motor, which is located on the back here. What's cool is the shaft looks like one piece, but the gear here is actually splined onto a smaller gear that's machined in there, held on by the snap ring. Now the way this thing works is basically a torque splitter, very similar to an all-wheel drive system. The electric motor is going to control the degree to how much these are going to lock up, and that's going to steal some of the torque from the rear wheels through this chain drive over here, come through the clutch, and then out to the front wheel. So for example, let's say it's completely off, this clutch is not locked. Well, none of the torque from here is going to be sent out to the front wheels because this is completely unlocked and this is freewheeling. So let's say now the computer decides to lock up the four-wheel drive according to the button on your dashboard. Well, this is going to rotate. It's going to squish these clutches together 100%, and that's now going to lock the input, which is coming from the chain over here, to the output, which is the front prop shaft, and now you have four-wheel drive. That's good for slippery driving conditions and surfaces. However, if you hit dry pavement, well, now your front and rear wheels are going to want to bind up because they're going to be fighting each other, and it's going to take its toll on this clutch or some other driveline components. Now, in order to mitigate that, we have this full-time four-wheel drive system where the electric motor and the computer are going to use sensors in order to vary the amount of torque split that happens in this clutch over here, so you can have a little bit of that slip between the front and rear wheels so things don't bind up. Now, the older designs would have a manual collar that you have to unlock and lock with a cable, and that's going to select your four-wheel drive. However, there's no clutch in in those that allow slippage, so you're going to get a lot of drive shaft binding. This system is more dynamic and allows lazy people to just set it and forget it. There's a snap ring here that's holding everything together, so I'm going to use my snap ring removal tool here. There we go. Oh, it's spring loaded. Alright, so let's take this thing apart here. Collar. Looks like we got a plate here. Bearing. This is actually a thrust bearing. Here we've got this piece here. It's got some ball bearings on it. And here we have the quarter gear. It's got the little holes and channels on here for those ball bearings. And here we have a giant spring. And it's got a piece of a clutch on there. And that spring is going to push against this clutch in order to lock it up. So here we've got a plastic piece here. Probably to divert some oil. And here we have the clutch. And then over here we have the drive gear that comes from the chain, and then a thrust bearing. And this is the front shaft that goes to the prop shaft for the front wheels. Now my wife's old pants here. These are nice and absorbent. Gotta wipe my hands up because all of these parts are so oily. Taking a look here, you can see this is the shaft, and you can see the input gear here rotates on that shaft. In order to transfer power, you have to go through this sprocket over here, which is on this sprocket on the outside of this clutch pack over here. And when that clutch pack locks up, it's going to lock against these teeth, and then these can rotate together. Now, if I take these apart here, just like an automatic transmission, you can see we've got these plates over here. These are steel plates. And then we have these friction bands over here. The friction bands here are toothed to the inside, which is to the shaft. And these plates are going to be toothed to the outside of the housing over here, which is your input. So essentially what happens is these things are encased in fluid. When you apply pressure to them, they're going to squeeze together and they're going to rotate as a solid piece. However, when you release pressure from them, they're just going to be floating around in fluid, and they can rotate against each other properly. Especially if you've got fluid in there, they won't have a chance of heating up too much. Now this is technically a softer version of four-wheel drive because you have this as a wear point, whereas in the older days you just had that collar that would lock up, and those are probably a lot more durable and reliable. However, these are all computer controlled now, so you really have to be driving a Jeep stupidly in order to burn one of these transfer case clutches up. Now if we take a look at how these clutches are activated, we have this band over here which is going to squish against the clutch. Got a little bit of springiness to it. Behind that we have the quarter gear. Now the quarter gear has these little holes over here that are deeper on one side and shallower on the other side. So as you rotate this quarter gear here, these balls here are going to move from the deeper side to the more shallower side. That's going to create a little bit of push force because you're moving from inside to outside. On the other side of the collar, it's the same thing. We have a deeper section over here and then a more shallower section over here. So as these two rotate relative to each other over here with the motion of the electric motor, it's going to create a pushing force, and that's going to push up against the clutches and tighten them up. I think it's a pretty simple and straightforward design, and a lot better than using a hydraulic clutch like in a transmission. Pull off these little 8mm bolts for the motor. And inside of here you can see the little shaft that has a spiral gear on it. That's what the electric motor is going to be rotating. Let's see if I can take this motor apart. Pop off this piece over here, which is your brushes. So we've got a basic brush DC electric motor. The brushes are going to wind up against over here. This is the rotor over here, and it's got the coils on it. Inside of here is the stator, which has the magnets on it. Over here we got the set of brushes here, and it looks like it's rebuildable and replaceable. Got some electronics over here, and that's going to plug into the engine harness. Now this here is the drive unit. I think it's something probably hiding out inside of here. Let's see. Let me pop this piece out here, and we got another drive unit here. I want to see what's inside here. This looks interesting. So it looks like we got a plate here. This is some kind of an encoder to tell the position, and we've got a wave washer. It's actually pretty critical to know the position of this electric motor so you know how much you've got that clutch locked up. This is pretty sweet. There's like a nice coil inside of here. Reminds me of a slinky. Well, who would have thought that this electric motor would have had so much technology inside just to turn this quarter gear. And that's a look inside of a Jeep 4-wheel drive transfer case and how it works. Make sure you subscribe if you want to see more videos just like this one.